What is it that the Maldives are looking to achieve at the Climate Vulnerable Forum?
As you know, we are the people who really started this forum 2 years ago. The first forum of its type was held in Maldives. It's an initiative of President Nasheed, and after that it was in Kiribati, and now it's in Dhaka. So there's a lot more attention now on this process, so it's very good. And we are very hopeful that this time around there will be more people will be hearing of the plight of the most vulnerable countries. So it's just to see that our voices are heard. It's not that it's going to be a formal, the findings of this or the deliberations that we had here is going to be formally incorporated into the UNFCCC. But the important thing here is to see that our voices are heard, and this is taken as a document into UNFCCC.
What is it that you expect from Durban, the climate talks that are approaching?
I think all along we have been expecting too much from these meetings, but I think a foundation was laid in Copenhagen for going ahead with this issue, and many things came to light. But the emissions continue to be an issue, because even the developing country emissions are quite high, and it's not only the developed countries that are having this emission issue, but unless we all get together and work out a solution to this, because even if the developed countries stop emitting anything, the developing countries' emissions will be more than enough to completely ruin all our aspirations. So the developing countries also should look at it very seriously. And I think the language has to change now. I think we should be talking more about investing in renewable energy instead of talking about cutting emissions, because the moment you start talking about cutting emissions, then everyone gets on guard that some people are trying to prevent development in the developing countries by cutting emissions. But if we talk about renewable energy production, I think that would sound better, and it would be more acceptable to the world, because then we achieve the same goals. And I think it has to be economically viable in order for it to be really sustainable. And we can go for renewable energy in any form, be it wave energy or wind energy or sun energy or biomass, whatever. And it could be quite successful, because there are many small island developing countries where it is already the investment in solar energy is really quite viable. For example, in Maldives, if we take, our costs of production of energy is so high that renewable energy is really viable in Maldives. So we have several investments lined up for wind as well as for solar. So it should be worthwhile to look at those possibilities, and then a whole lot of economic opportunities then open up, and then it would be better that way if we start talking about investment in renewable energy.
As well as this effort to reframe the negotiations in a more positive way by emphasising the kind of race to the future and renewable energy, there's been a lot of talk here about moral leadership. How do you think that's going to impact the global negotiations?
I think there is enough moral leadership, but the problem is the developed countries and the developing countries, we really look at it very seriously only if it becomes a campaign issue, because the leadership is all about politics. And unless it becomes a campaign issue, unless there are demonstrations on the streets, unless it really becomes an issue that the people are deeply concerned and this message goes across and it becomes a deeply rooted campaign issue, nothing would seems to be changing so quickly, so fast. I think everyone knows the requirement, the need for it, but the problem is, since it is not really a campaign issue to get into government the next time around, it will be slow. So if it becomes a campaign issue all over the world, I think it will be much more successful.
Thanks very much for speaking to us. Thank you. I know you've got to rush. Thank you.